This week, we're wrapping up our Summer Game Fest recap with a focus on the indies. This is the Good Game, Bad Game podcast.
This is a song I wrote about the Good Game, Bad Game podcast. Good Game, Bad Game podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Good Game, Bad Game podcast. I'm your host, Spencer, and with me is a man who's been known to support an indie or two. It's my co-host, Mike. Mike, how are you?
I'd be supporting indies more than anything at this point.
Yeah.
Other than Madden, unfortunately.
Yeah. I would say probably the same.
Yeah, they're good games. Brent.
I'd say more often than not, they're some of the best experiences.
Wow, throwing out the B word.
It's like when you're talking about athletes and stuff like that, you just have to say somebody's the greatest of all time, and we just throw it around constantly, and it just doesn't matter. So, yeah, so I'll stick by it. Best experiences.
Sure. There you go.
I think the thing that's like so great about indies, and we talk about it constantly, is that they just have that certain feeling about them where you can just tell that like there was a ton of passion and a ton of like care put into the game, and that it didn't have a ton of, oversight or suits trying to push certain things because they think that since it worked in Fortnite, it'll work in this next game, I think that's why personally I love indies so much.
Excuse me.
Getting choked up.
I have been, I'm all choked up about it. I've been so like impressed with the presentation of indie games over just this past year. That the Day of the Devs presentation and Tribeca Games Fest and Wholesome Games, like, obviously not new. Those presentations are awesome with just kind of letting the devs talk about it, showing some gameplay, telling some backstory, and why they decided to build the game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not typically for money. I think that's really cool. And then the other kind of trend that I'm seeing is like indie developers building their own arcade machines. Just the components are so cheap now, so we're seeing like the first one that comes to mind is Wonderville in Brooklyn, but it's like a barcade, but indie developers build their own cabinets for their indie games, and then they put them in things like this, or they have them on like a residency somewhere, kind of, and it's really cool. Just the presentation is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think the the Day of the Devs is like one of the best at what you're talking about when it comes to like people being able to like talk about and like really explain the passion of it. I love that like they give the time, and seeing how much these things like mean to the people who are creating the games is really just so awesome. I know you've been busy, so I'm almost scared to ask. Did you play any games this past week?
Very few. I actually did kind of test out my travel setup a couple of times. I was away at a conference, and there was really only one night that I was back to the Airbnb early, and set up my laptop, and I actually played one of my favorite, in theory, indie games from last year, American Arcadia.
Oh, yeah.
And I only did like the Steam demo, so it didn't really show all that much, but it's cool. It's a really fun game. I'm definitely gonna buy it and play through the rest of it. I really wanted to wait for it to come to console, but I'm just gonna play it on PC.
Yeah,
My laptop is shockingly good enough to run it, so
that's awesome. Yeah, I remember we were having that like weird. Did we get like pulled into some sort of wormhole or something like that because we couldn't figure out if the game had actually released and like where it had released and everything. So I'm glad you finally got the opportunity to try it out.
yeah, it's really good. Also, it might be on sale right now.
Oh,
Um, this is saying it came out.
oh, here we go again.
Here we go again. No, I'm going straight to the website because last time on the website it said console is still coming soon. Buy now on Steam. Okay, it's just PC. I'm buying it on PC. Um, no, just a really good two-dimensional game, and definitely recommend it. Um, see, other than that, I tried some Xbox cloud streaming when I was camping, funny enough.
Okay.
And worked really well. Works better than it does on my home Wi-Fi, which pisses me off. And now I'm going like scorched earth on my home Wi-Fi to make it better, but I think it's just the product of my internet's trying to come from Toronto and I'm 5 hours away from Toronto.
Yeah.
But
Put them on blast.
yeah, I'm doing it. My go-to cloud game has been Pentiment. Just it's an easy game to play with just like touch controls.
Sure.
And it's not like fast paced or anything, but I've been enjoying that. I've been working through it slowly. I don't really know what's going on, but I enjoy the art.
I
Yeah,
mean,
that's about it.
yeah, wherever you can find positives, right?
Yeah.
I don't really understand what's going on, but it's pretty.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like it's a calm game. It's
Yeah.
relaxing.
Um, very cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I really haven't been playing anything too crazy or interesting. Um, just been playing a lot of MLB. So I'd say you've been doing better than me.
Well, that's got to be a first.
Hey, I can I can concede victory to you. I can give props when they're due.
That's good.
I don't like it, but I'll do it. Um all right. Well, let's dive into the indies.
Yeah.
Um I guess yeah, let's start with the Day of the Devs.
Yeah.
Um I know we were already kind of singing his praises at the top. I consistently think um the Day of the Devs is like the best part of the kickoff to Summer Games Fest. It's right after like technically the main show, if you will. Um, but every year they dedicate about an hour, if not exactly an hour, of time to all of these like upcoming indie games. And I think the thing about Day of the Devs that I enjoy so much is that they really seem to try and like showcase a lot of very unique and like different games. And I think when we kind of can fall into this like pattern recognition in the AAA gaming space, so I think it was now at this point 2, maybe 3 years ago, where everybody was making a space horror game, right? And it's just like, okay, you're just constantly seeing the same thing over and over again. And then you get to Day of the Devs, and it's like, have you ever wondered what it would be like if you were a bee, and then you're flying around and you're a bee? And it's just like stuff like that, right? And it's like you can tell people literally just had an idea, a fever dream, whatever, and then they put the pen to paper. And
Mhm.
it's there's something just so satisfying about it. And then, like we were saying too, getting to hear the people behind the game kind of explain like how they got there, and like because oftentimes it's like a lived experience that like leads them to this, and the story that they want to tell, and sometimes it's just we thought it'd be fun, right? And there's just something really so satisfying about like getting to like sit there and just like listen. And so I thought the show was great. I think I walked away with a decent number of games that I thought looked great, and that I'm really excited for.
Yeah, I'm trying to count through. I mean, all the games looked fantastic, but the ones that I would actually play, I think I've got 5 of them, considering there was 21 games in the show. Um, I mean, for me, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Let me see
But
if I can do a quick count. I don't know. It's so tough too, because like so many of the games are like, okay, I don't know if it necessarily like screams out to me in the moment, but I find that like the concept of it is so interesting that I like find it hard to not want to try it, if that makes
yeah,
sense. And I think like a perfect example of that is that a Ranger, which is that game where like at every time you move, other things on the screen also move,
mm,
and you have to like kind of puzzle your way and like go around in like specific patterns to then be able to progress and like get around obstacles and stuff like that. I think just again, like the concept of it is just so uniquely fascinating. Um, that it's like I sit here and I'm like, I don't know if it's like, oh my god, I have to play that game, but it's like I want to try that. I think there's just so many games like that, so it's really tough. But your overall thoughts, please. I keep interrupting.
no, I don't think you have. But I overall, I think it was really good. Kind of starting at the top, we've been seeing simpler times a lot over the past at least 2-3 years. And they did their launch trailer for that, and now it's out on Steam. Which bring it to console, please.
Yeah.
That'll be another one. I'll have to see if there's a demo and see if I can even run it. Yeah, I've been pretty excited about this game. It just seems kind of chill, like a good like. I need games that replace Madden in terms of like brainlessness,
Yeah.
and it seems like this is going to be one of those games. I don't mean that as an insult. I mean that is like I use my brain all day, and I just want to play a game where I can just go through the motions.
No, and I think that's completely fair. Like games that you can just kind of exist in,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
you're not. It's not nonstop action and like like I hear exactly what you're saying. You don't want to do 8 hours of work. You're a little tired. You have time to play some games. You don't want to just immediately jump into Elden Ring
Right.
where you're just dodging and failing and stuff like that. Like you want to just be in a cozy like walking sim if that's what it is. Like
Yeah.
I hear you 100%.
Everybody goes to the Rapture. I don't know if you ever played that game.
I have not, but you've mentioned it plenty of times to me, and it is
Yeah.
basically just a walking sim, right?
That's all you do.
Yeah.
You just walk and walk and walk till you get to the end. There's like things you can click on and interact with, but
Sure.
um yeah, I don't know how you want to go through this. You want me to just kind of go through my five and then
Yeah. Yeah. That works.
okay. I'm noticing a trend in indie games, and I'm completely here for it. And it's the mountain climbing sim.
Yeah.
Last year we got Jotun, I think is pronounced,
Uh huh.
and awesome game. Loved it. I ripped through it, would play it again. And now this year we get Karen. And it's coming to consoles, so I'm happy about that. And I don't know what it is, but there's something about a climbing sim with like satisfying controls that just it does it for me.
And I think the thing that was so interesting about this game is how they like said it was. They put like a ton of focus on making it feel like very realistic. Um. So I mean, I know you played Jotun, so like you can talk to it a bit more, but it really seemed like there was an emphasis put on like realism with this in a lot of ways, and the way that they showed like the map of like different paths, that there are so many different paths that you can take, and you can like see like which way you tried to go previously but like failed, like you eventually hit like effectively a
Hmm.
dead end, and like you go back down and have to like find a new path up, um almost making it like roguelikey in some ways. I thought it was just such a cool idea, and looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, and that's kind of similar to how Jotun was. That one was more story driven, so it
Hmm.
wasn't necessarily like the roguelike kind of experience that you're talking about. Um, but just in terms of like, you had when you were climbing, like you had certain stamina, like you couldn't be on the wall forever.
Sure.
Um, you had like only X amount of pittance that you could put in to hold yourself. Um, I don't know why, but just that version of puzzle solving, I would never do it in real life. I want to be incredibly clear about it. Um, but that degree of puzzle solving just does it for me.
Yeah, no, I hear you 100%.
Um, yeah, so I'm really excited for that. I really need to keep a spreadsheet of indie games, or else I get into like the American Arcadia situation where I'm like, did that game ever come out?
It's so tough. It is so tough
Yeah.
because I think that's one of the biggest issues still with indie games. It's great that they are given these like different spotlights, but it's very easy for them to like kind of fall back into the shadows. So like just as quickly as they have
Right.
the opportunity to like push their game and show it to you, they get overshadowed constantly by, just the bigger games, that more people are consistently talking about and stuff like that. And it really takes like, uh, you know, a cult of the lamb type success to actually like get all of the attention that some of these games really do deserve. So yeah, I hear you. It's tough. It's very easy to lose visibility on where they stand and stuff, which sucks.
Yeah. Maybe that can be a service we provide every week. Like how we used to say, like, what games are you excited for
Yeah.
back in the day? Remember that? Say, like, these are the indie games coming out this week. Anyway. Um,
I'm writing
I
down the
had a very like
recommendation.
there it is. The next one was kind of a dark horse for me. Like they came up and I was like, ah, whatever. Um Then I kind of watched it and then read kind of more of a better synopsis of it. Karma the Dark World from a Chinese studio, which I felt like kind of rare.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, if they're coming from over there, it's Korea or Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know why this game just kind of like just seemed very interesting. We really just got a trailer, but again, kind of the mystery, problem solving behind it just seemed really interesting to me.
Yeah, the like horror thriller type vibes. Definitely seems like a
Yeah,
game that'd be up your alley.
if done well, it's I always try those games like that, and then I get an hour or two in, I'm like, okay, I don't need to play this anymore.
Sure.
But we'll see. I'll try it. See. I'm sure this is kind of like the darling of the show, but I'm still super excited for Screenbound.
That like this is the prime example in my eyes of just like somebody having a very out there idea and then finding a way to like create it and just
Hmm.
it this is the type of stuff that just will never cease to amaze me. um I know we like probably saw like 2 minutes of it, and then it made its rounds uh on the internet and stuff, and then it got shown at Day of the Devs. This game looks so freaking cool.
Yeah, I and it looks like it's just really showing the progress of indie games, but it just looks so fluid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I'm really excited for this.
And in case anybody listening doesn't know what Screenbound is, if you haven't seen it, it's this game where you are in a 3D world and you're holding effectively a Game Boy, and it's a 2D world that is it's the 3D world you're in a 2D setting. So as you're like moving on the screen of the Game Boy, you're also moving in the three-dimensional world. And I think it's like enemies and stuff like that are only seen on the 2D screen, if I remember correctly.
I think that's
Um,
right. Yeah.
it is fascinating. It is so fascinating and such a cool idea. Um, yeah, it's it's got to be the most interesting concept I think I've ever seen,
Hmm.
and I can't wait to see how it actually like is like how it's actually like done and put to practice.
So the beauty of indie games, it can take these kinds of risks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we got any sort of release date for that.
Yeah, I don't think we got a release date. I don't even know if they like said if it's gonna come to consoles or not.
I hope it comes to Switch so I can play the game while moving through the real world
Yeah,
and just make it like 8 to the n dimension.
yeah. I was gonna say very meta,
And then whoever's playing me, like they're just another level deeper
right? Because of the
since we're
simulation
in a
that we're in.
simulation.
Yep, yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep, 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 yep,
Yep,
yep.
yep, yep. Oh man. Um I think the last one I had on here that I thought looked really cool was Tides of Tomorrow. Um, these are the people who made Road 96, which I don't think I realized was an indie game, and that kind of explains it because this game also looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a multiplayer game. Uh, do you want me to read the summary of this one?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, this is from IGN. It's an asynchronous multiplayer game developed by Road 96 developer Digix Art, where multiple people's playthroughs of the same story can impact one another and influence events. And then they just describe the trailer. In the trailer, we see one character escape a tight situation while leaving a knife hidden for another player to use during their escape. Tides of Tomorrow takes place on an ocean planet where a deadly plastification is killing things very, very slowly, and players may be able to find a cure and survive. Coming to PC, but no release yet. Just seemed super interesting. Again, and it's crazy that, we're talking about indie games where it's asynchronous multiplayer.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's like what you were saying, right? Where it's just like you can just kind of take these risks. And I think so often indie developers are the ones who actually have their like finger on the pulse. So
Mhm.
it may seem like this like crazy risk or like it may just seem like a super out there idea or whatever, right? And then it's like it's created and it does well because it's actually what people want, and it's like it's a unique experience, and it's not just a copy paste of another game that we already have, right?
Right.
And so yeah, I mean, I love it. I also thought Tides of Tomorrow looked really good, and again, it's sometimes the issue with some of these events is like it's a practice in masochism because you're finding out that these games aren't going to come to console or aren't going to come to console right away or whatever, and so you're
Right.
really sitting there like watching something and thinking like, oh my god, I can't wait to play this, and then it's just like, oh, fuck, I guess I need to build a PC.
Yep.
um
Yeah, I'm hoping my laptop is good enough, but we'll see.
yeah. I'm trying to think. I know there's at least one game that you didn't mention that I want to real quick. At least for Day of the Devs. And that is UFO 50.
Hmm.
I think so. The idea of the game is that it's 50 games in one. It's like this whole like collection of games, and the gist is that the games that are in the collection are supposed to be the game catalog of a fictitious developer that was creating games for a fictitious console that is like reminiscent of like the NES and
Hmm.
like other consoles as well, but like it's like fake versions of real consoles basically. And I think the name of the fake company is like UFO Soft or something like that. It's like I think supposed to be kind of like Ubisoft or something like that, right? And it just it seems so ambitious. Um and they had the actual team behind it talking about it, and like they were saying how it's like these are 50 like full on standalone games. Like some of the games are going to be games that really resonate with you and that you really enjoy, and then some games are going to be ones that you just don't care for. But like the idea is that it's all from like one company's catalog basically. I don't know, there's layers to it that I found so fascinating and so interesting. um and I just think the concept of it is just so like out there, that I really can't wait to see how it does once they actually release it.
Yeah, that is really cool. Um, and yeah, just such an interesting concept. Um, I'm looking at their website, at Moss Mouth's website, and it looks like they build, like, kind of like I was talking about, they build um like arcade machines for games. So I wonder if they'll do one for this. Like that might be worth getting an arcade machine for.
That would be really neat. All 50
I'm trying to
games
figure it
in the
out
arcade
because
machine.
they're only, I'm guessing it's like a mini. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, they say they're mini arcade machines,
That would definitely be a cool one.
but it's only a foot tall.
Oh,
Huh. I'll just see if like anybody has a YouTube video of that. Because like even like that would be cool. I gotta be honest with you, what I need to do is just build my own cabinet and put a PC in it for arcade machines,
yeah,
like to work as an arcade machine.
that would be neat.
Maybe one day.
It's a down the road goal.
Yep.
Trying to think if there was anything else specifically. I mentioned the Arranger game. I also thought the where is it? Zoocosis. I don't know if it's a game that I would personally play. Um, Definitely something that I could see myself like watching somebody do a playthrough of, just because I'm a little scaredy cat. Um, and so when I play horror games, I like can't move because I'm so scared of the next jump scare. Um, but the gist of Zoocosis is basically it seems like Five Nights at Freddy's. You work the night shift security at the zoo or whatever, and the animals are getting like infected, so you're getting these like weird mutated horror like images of like giraffes and hippos, and they got like twisted bodies and weird tentacles coming out of them and stuff like that. And um it looks so freaking cool. So creepy and everything. Again, don't know if I'd be able to play it, but definitely a game that I look forward to seeing more of.
That's kind of how I felt about Tom the Post Girl. Like, would never play it. Apparently, I don't know. It's just weird. But it's also, I mean, it looks like it's hand drawn, which I have an appreciation for.
Mm-hmm.
But that kind of creepy is not for me.
Yeah, yeah. That game's that's the one where like it's like voyeurism, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, as you're delivering packages, you're like seeing what other people are doing. Yeah, it definitely seems very dark and twisted. Um, yeah, I think. Oh, sorry, I do have one more. Um, while waiting, uh, that's the game where literally you just do nothing, right? You just wait. Um, Shelby saw that and was like, "Oh, that's your worst nightmare," because I'm so impatient. Um, but that game looks really neat. It reminded me in some ways of like Untitled Goose Game in the sense that like while the main gist is to just wait and like it's like a practice in patience, right? Um there also seem to be a lot of like hidden objectives and goals of like ways to interact with the things and the various ways of waiting for various things. And I just thought that seemed so cool, and I would love to see like the depths of all of that. Um, but it seems like such a cool idea that even though the gist is do nothing, um, there still seems to be a lot to do, which is cool.
And it's coming to mobile, which I am always happy about with indie games because I feel like that's the most like accessible place to access some of these games.
I think that is also like really funny too because like for this game specifically because when you're just waiting around kind of doing nothing, what do? You go to your phone.
Right.
I'll just play this game while waiting. And then you're waiting in a game while waiting, and it's got layers like when you play
Yeah.
Screenbound on your Switch.
Just the way that these developers can think is just absolutely bonkers.
um yeah, but yeah, so that was another one that I wanted to quickly shout out. But yeah, overall it was a great show, and
I think I have to watch it again.
yeah, it's probably not a bad idea to just watch it every few weeks to make sure you're
Honestly.
make sure you're on top of when the games are coming out and stuff, and keeping tabs on them.
I wonder if I wonder if Day of the Devs is going to, because they're like full on an organization now. So I wonder if they're gonna like, oh yeah, look at this. They literally have a calendar of games,
Oh,
I think. Hold on. This might be games that have been shown.
I mean that even that at the very least would be great.
Right. And it's by year. So that's kind of cool. But I also like don't see, maybe it's further down. No, it's not. I also don't see like this past event. Yeah, I don't know, but they're like they've become like a complete organization now. So maybe their website will have some of those resources.
Yeah, it'd be great. And you said what they showed off 21 games right
Yeah.
during the show, um, which is a lot, but uh, like it really does feel like everybody had a chance to really like showcase and talk about their games and stuff like that, and it's such a great show consistently every year. It's again probably the best part of the kickoff to Summer Games Fest. Um,
Yeah.
and I was ready to crown it the best part of the show until Xbox had a really strong showing. So love Day of the Devs and love that they give such a great platform to up and coming games. Okay, other shows. I don't know if you watched the Devolver Direct.
I did not.
Um,
Let me see if I can pull up a list.
they're they're so weird with how they do their little like 30-minute thing, and it's so funny, and like I love it. There was really only one game that I wanted to touch on. I think they like showed like new Cult of the Lamb content. I'm trying to remember. what the local co-op is what they're adding to Cult of the Lamb, which is neat. But there's really just one game, and it's the game that I'm most interested and like excited for, I would say. It's from the designer of Dead Cells. It's called Tenjutsu, and it's a roguelike game where you are working to like take down like various like crime bosses and their like factions. But the thing that seemed so cool about it is that like as you're moving through the like I guess the maps, the runs, whatever you want to call them, there are like areas where you can like improve the city, and then like that gives you your buffs for like continuing to progress. um and just like the combat style and everything like that seemed so cool. um it was instantly like the watching it, I was like, that's the game that I'm easily the most excited for. um that's because any roguelike can basically get me excited.
Not gonna lie, IGN damn near crashed my computer there. So I have nothing to add.
No, that's
I was scrambling to try to get back on and hope that I wouldn't just fall off.
no, you're fine. Again, there's nothing else really that I like wanted to touch on from the Devolver Direct. It was really just that game that they showed. Um, but I think it looks so freaking cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I think then the next one would have been the Wholesome Direct.
I watched that, but I need to pull up the list. I should have done this before.
No, you're fine. I don't
Did
know
not
if
go on IGN.
I don't know if for me personally there was anything glaring that I wanted to call out. The main thing I wanted to just say about the Wholesome Direct is that much like um well, it's kind of like the perfect uh combination of Day of the Devs and like the Summer Game Fest kickoff show. They show off, I would say, a lot more stuff. They give a little less time for like every single developer to like discuss their game. But the stream itself and the entire presentation is so freaking cozy. The people, the hosts that they have are so like ASMR soft spoken as they discuss the games. It's like you could just sit there and sip some tea and watch this new trailer for a game you've never heard of and will probably want to play. And then they show you it. And it's so great. They showed off like a bunch of like slice of life, cozy games, stuff like that. Again, all games that I could definitely see myself playing. I don't know if anything like quite grabbed my attention. And kind of back to the original uh main issue with a lot of indie games that get shown. It's like you watch the trailer and it's like you can wish list it on Steam, and that's all we know in terms of like where it's releasing as of right now. And like that's probably 80% of the game shown at the Wholesome Direct. Um, but
Does it kind of feel like the console involvement in indie games is slowing down? Like,
um,
I feel like PlayStation pretty much relies on Annapurna for their indie games, and then like Xbox has ID at Xbox. It just doesn't feel like they do anything with it anymore. Like, no, not nearly as much.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's just simply that just releasing it on PC or Steam is just like the easiest path forward. Um I don't know. I don't know. I do hear what you're saying. But I also at the same time feel like plenty of indie games still make it to consoles.
Mm-hmm.
I do find it interesting though, and I think I kind of had like the same thought where it's like, how many indie games do you see that are one only releasing on PC, or if they are making it to a console, it's the Switch. So I don't know. Maybe it's just also the idea of like, where is like the base most likely to be? And I wonder if it's like a practice in that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's probably a lot easier to develop for the Switch just because it's an Android, basically an Android system. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it uses an old processor, so you don't really need like a huge dev kit. But same with PC, like you don't need a dev kit. You can just use your PC, and with PlayStation and Xbox, I don't know the logistics of it, but I'm assuming that you can't really develop a game without a development dedicated system.
Right.
I don't know. I would like to see like Xbox and PlayStation open their SDKs up on PC a little more. Anyway, just a thought.
But like I do still feel like for the most part PlayStation and Xbox are still invested in indies. Um but yeah, I mean I guess they could definitely be doing more and probably should be doing more. Were there any games that were like specifically that called out to you from the wholesome games?
I think I pretty much agree with your sentiment where like it was nice to see everything, but they showed a ton of games.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think there was a lot of crossover. Um, so not one that I can specifically call out, but just again, appreciate the platform.
Yeah, and again, if you go, they have like a whole section on their own website where you can see everything that was announced, and they link out directly to like their Steam and stuff like that, um, which is great. But again, it's like it's a bit masochistic to watch this, and you get to see all these like cute, fun games, and then you're met with the realization that you'll probably never see it on console, um,
Right.
which is a shame. Well, man, just like looking at the list, like the art of all of the games is just uh, so fantastic. It's a great show, and it's a great again, it's just a great platform for all of these games. So it's really nice to see that. Really, I mean, for the most part, um, the time commitment during the Summer Game Fest weekend, um, it's not perfectly 50-50, um, but it's probably like 40% time is given to indies, and then 60% is given to just these big AAA games. I don't know if you would agree with that or not.
Yeah, I would.
But uh, it's nice. I would love if it was like perfectly even, but you know, the Summer Game Fest kickoff show is what, 2.5, maybe 3 hours or something like that. You immediately like counteract that with these specific events that are solely focused on indie games, and there were indie games shown during Summer Game Fest too. So it's nice to see that like there's an attempt to give these games and up and coming stuff like an opportunity to showcase their games, because the current landscape of AAA games has like been kind of treading water now at this point. Um, and I think there's a definite need to get more creative voices and unique gaming experiences into the hands of gamers. Uh, and who better but indie devs? So
Yeah. I'm all for it.
anything else that you wanted to touch on for the indies?
Um, just to touch on it, I think there's a lot of overlap here too. The Tribeca Games Fest happened too. And there was two games from that kind of stood out to me. One was Dark Web Streamer, which I think. Oh no, it wasn't. I was wondering if that was one of the Blumhouse games.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it is. Looks like it's from a developer, and oh no, they're across. I don't know. It looks like a game that Blumhouse showed, but that game looks really interesting and kind of horrifying. I'm trying to see if I can figure out who the developer was. We Have Always Lived in the Forest. First time I've heard of him, but looks super interesting, kind of
this
horrifying.
is
And then
this is crazy. I just love the like synopsis. I didn't see this. It says become an occult streamer on the dark web in the psycho horror RPG streamer sim. Surf the net, stream weird shit, and impress your viewers enough to become the #1 streamer or die trying. That's a pretty fucking good hook.
yeah,
That's neat.
I was I was in Tribeca like just a couple of days after this ended, and I really want to make it down there one year to try some of these games. Um, so we'll see. I'm pretty excited about that one, and then Nev, which is the same developer as Grease. I don't know if you ever played that game. I want to say it was like an early PS4 game.
I mean, the name sounds familiar.
But just kind of like a really pretty like 2D platformer.
Yeah, the visuals of that. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure we saw that somewhere else too.
I think so.
I couldn't tell you when or where. It starts to all kind of bleed together, but um, yeah, that game looks great. That's the one where it's like the woman and the wolf cub, right? And then like I think at the end of the trailer that I saw, the like
Yeah.
cub is like bigger and working with. I might be thinking of a different game though, so I don't know.
I mean, you might be right. We've definitely seen this before, but it was like a while ago. I don't think it was during this event.
Yeah,
Maybe it was last year, and this is just a maybe it was just an update on it.
but the visuals of it are fantastic. It looks so like pretty. Maybe it was at the Devolver Direct that I saw it. I can't remember.
Maybe because Devolver, I think, published
Oh, the
Grease,
publishers. Yeah. Maybe
so I'm
that's where I
assuming they're
saw
the
it.
publishers for this too. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff out of the indie world this year.
Yeah, definitely. If you didn't have the opportunity to check out these events, do so. Think about supporting an indie developer. Um, in a lot of ways. Again, I feel like they have their finger on the pulse of what people genuinely want out of games. So the problem is needing to find them in the first place. So, but I think overall, to just like summarize Summer Game Fest as a whole, I think the nice thing about this entire past month of events is that I think anybody, whether you're like a consistent gamer or you're looking to get into gaming, I think anybody can find at least a handful of games to be excited about from all of these events. And I don't know if I could feel that like passionately about that sort of take in previous years. It just really felt like there was just such a wide variety showcased throughout all the events this year. That was really great to see. So that's a pretty big win in my book. Even though I think at the same time when you're looking at all of the events from an individual like selfish point of view, it might feel like they were lacking in certain ways because not everything was necessarily for you and your like play styles and stuff like that. But generally speaking, I felt like there was just such a nice wide variety.
Yeah, completely agree with that.
And now we're done talking about the events, and we're gonna have to
Yeah.
figure out what the hell to talk about next week.
Ubisoft remaking Assassin's Creed.
What
Yeah,
is that a thing?
apparently.
Like the first game?
Yeah.
Great.
Mhm.
All right. No Splinter Cell?
Why would you even do that? No,
Because
did you see they also laid off a bunch of people from that studio
really?
last week? Yeah, like 30 people from Ubisoft Toronto.
Ugh, I had not seen that.
They're on it was basically the team that was on Splinter Cell and Prince of Persia. So, gonna go out on a limb and say it's canceled.
Awful. That's
Ubisoft's getting harder and harder to like.
that. Yeah. Well, and that's an industry wide problem too that needs to be corrected. All these layoffs is just such a shame. Somebody pointed out that like in a lot of ways, it's almost easier and like worth the risk for a lot of developers to try and go independent, which is a
Yeah.
crazy uh like notion, considering all things.
I think it would be I think I would appreciate the industry more if it did that, but then I'd also be afraid of like the smaller guys getting pushed out if like
Right.
I don't know, Battlefield, the developers behind Battlefield went independent and broke away from EA and they're like, "Oh, we're an independent game studio now." And just to be in the same classification I think is a little tricky.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a deep dive for another time.
Yep.
Well, that'll do it. Let us know what your thoughts were on Summer Game Fest as a whole and all of the events. If there's a specific game that sticks out that you're most excited for, definitely let us know. You can do that over on our YouTube. Probably in the comments section is the easiest place to do it. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. As always, if you could leave us a rating or review, it'd be greatly appreciated. And most importantly, if you can share the podcast with a friend, that would be a huge help to us. Other than that, we'll talk to you next week.